McLaren may have just thrown away their best chance at a driver's championship. From Lando Norris's first win to strategic blunders and bottling race starts, there's been a lot of debate on where Lando could be in the driver's standings. And could he even be leading it right now? In this video, we're breaking down every race since his Miami victory to the Italian Grand Prix, calculating how many points Lando lost and if he ever truly had a shot at the 2024 title. But first, let's look at the driver's standings. As of Monza, Lando is 62 points behind Max Verstappen. With 8 races and 3 sprints to go, Norris must catch Max by 8 points every race to win the championship. Let's kick things off with Miami. After Lando's brilliant win, it looked like McLaren had finally gotten their car in order. After the race, Lando found himself 53 points behind Verstappen, who was at 136 points. Imola was where McLaren's pace really started to shine. Starting from second, the race became a battle with Verstappen towards the end. However, the McLaren couldn't match the Red Bull's speed in the early stages. As the race progressed, Lando's tire management was on point. But catching Max and passing him on track was another story. Despite strong form, I think that no extra points were on the table for Lando in this one. This puts Norris on 101 points, 60 behind Max. The next race was Monaco, a place where qualifying reigns supreme, and Lando struggled here, finding himself stuck in fourth behind Ferrari and McLaren teammate Piastri. Once again, despite good race pace, overtaking is nearly impossible on the streets of Monte Carlo. Lando had no opportunity to make up ground, leaving him with a disappointing finish and more points slipping through his fingers. At this stage, Lando was still 56 points behind Max, and the gap was starting to look daunting. Canada was where the wheels began to come off for McLaren. Lando was in a strong position, starting third, just a fraction of a second behind Russell and Verstappen. He was leading the race and looked to have the best pace in wet conditions. But then disaster struck. A safety car came out after Logan Sargent's crash, and McLaren failed to react quickly enough. Lando was left out on track instead of pitting immediately, costing him the lead in the win. Team principal Andrea Stella even admitted afterward that they should have acted faster. The result? A 14-point swing, with Lando losing 7 points he could have gained and Max gaining those same points. This was the first major blow in Lando's championship chase. This brings us on to Spain. Spain was one of Lando's most impressive qualifying sessions, edging out Max Verstappen for pole by just 0.02 seconds. But his race start let him down. A wheel spin in the second phase, combined with focusing too much on defending Max, saw George Russell overtake him as well. Although he finished second, it felt like a missed opportunity. Had Lando started cleaner, he should have taken the victory, which means there should have been another 14-point swing in the standings, putting Norris 41 points behind Max. Austria was one of those races where you knew Lando was on the verge of something special. He had the pace to win but collided with Max Verstappen during the final stint, which by no means was his fault. However, Lando picked up a 5-second track limits penalty and lost all hope of winning. Had that crash not happened, I don't think Norris could have cleared Max by 5 seconds with only a handful of laps remaining. Max would have won the race with Norris finishing second, but Norris would have taken an extra point for the fastest lap of the race. This puts Verstappen at 230 points, 47 points ahead of Norris. Silverstone should have been a fairy tale for Lando. His home race, the crowd cheering him on, and everything to play for. But McLaren's strategy fell apart. After a strong middle stint, McLaren called him in for his second pit stop, but it was poorly timed, and Lando overshot his pit box. This cost him 2 precious seconds, and worse, he was put on used soft tires instead of fresh mediums, which compromised his pace. He lost out to Hamilton and Verstappen, and what should have been a win turned into a third-place finish. A cleaner pit stop and better tire strategy would have handed Lando the victory, resulting in a 10-point gain for him and a 3-point drop for Max. Another painful missed opportunity. And this brings us on to Hungary. Well. Where do we even begin? Apart from the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton, Hungary might go down as McLaren's biggest regret of the season if Lando loses the championship by a small margin. Lando lost his pole position to teammate Oscar Piastri in the first turn. However, Lando was given the undercut strategy to cover off Hamilton, which resulted in Lando taking the lead over Oscar. But in the final laps, he had to slow down to allow Oscar to catch up and pass. An argument could be made that Piastri deserved to win that race, but because Norris was just so much quicker in the final stint, I believe that Norris could have overtaken Piastri anyway. This would have gained him an extra 7 points on Max, possibly making a decisive difference in the championship. Team orders may come back to haunt McLaren in this case. By the time Belgium came around, Lando was struggling. He admitted himself that he hadn't been driving at his best, and overtaking was incredibly difficult. Despite losing places at the start yet again, which is becoming a bit of a pattern, it was a decent showing from Norris. The McLaren was just off the pace, and Lando finished 6th. No major errors, just a weekend where neither he nor the car had the performance needed to challenge for the win. No points lost or gained here. This puts Lando now at 243 points, just 24 off Verstappen. Monza marked another frustrating weekend. Lando was on pole again, but was beaten by Piastri and Leclerc on lap 1. McLaren was out-strategized by Ferrari, with Lando unable to convert his pole into a win. Even if Lando had a cleaner start, I think that Leclerc would have won the race, thanks to his strategy and brilliant driving. However, if Lando had been closer to Max in the standings, team orders might have come into play, and Piastri may have let him through for second place. In that scenario, Lando could have gained another 3 points and closed the gap to Max, which brings us on to what the standings could look like. Max Verstappen is still leading the championship with 293 points, but Lando is right up there with 287 points, just 6 points behind Verstappen. The championship battle would have truly been on, with Abu Dhabi being the title decider. Instead, the gap is at 62 points. Don't get me wrong, Lando can still win the title. Catching Max by 8 points per race is very much possible due to the fact that McLaren have undeniably got the fastest car, and Red Bull struggling. If Lando can win nearly every race, and with Mercedes and Ferrari stepping it up and beating Red Bull consistently, the championship battle is truly on, and I'm sure that this title fight will go down to the magical night in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content and check out some more videos.